Back when James Gunn announced his plans for the rebooted DC Universe, he made it clear that his vision for the future of the franchise was to move seamlessly between the mediums of film, television, animation, and video games. When it comes to DC games, the gold standard is Injustice and the Batman Arkham series. The last couple of years we've seen them try to expand outside of those games with the subpar releases of Gotham Knights and Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. And earlier this year we heard about a cancelled Wonder Woman game. I feel like I've spent a lot of time talking about missed potential with Marvel video games, so in today's video we are going to focus on the future of DC games. This is a subject I wanted to talk about for quite a while, but my main inspiration came with a mailbag question I received yesterday, coming courtesy of Roderick8167, asking if Superman is a big success, do I think James Gunn will move forward with a Superman game? Now, a Superman game specifically harkens back to a video I made nearly 8 years ago. I urge you not to look it up because the video and sound quality is awful, but seeing how it's been nearly a decade since I made that video, I really wanted to revisit this topic. In that video, I focused on what would make a great Superman game because, in my opinion, there really hasn't been one up to this point. The best one is Superman Shadow of Apocalypse from 2002, but I'd only consider it the best game because all of the others are so bad. And while there hasn't been an officially released Superman game since I've made that video, we have gotten what I think lays the groundwork for what would be a really great Superman game. It is a free game made by 3 students called Undefeated. Now, you probably recognize the footage because I use it whenever I talk about Superman, since I can't really show footage from DC movies without WB copyright claiming my videos. But as I said, it's basically a Superman game without any of the licensing from DC. And it's the kind of thing that DC should be expanding on to make their own Superman game. And seeing how this is what just 3 students could do, it's kind of insane that DC hasn't taken a shot at making something this interesting recently. But let me answer the initial question more directly. Do I think James Gunn will greenlight and move forward with a Superman game if Superman is successful critically and financially? Absolutely, and I feel like they're probably already working on something. WB Games recently said that DC was one of the 4 properties that they are really focusing on in the coming years. Now, I also wonder if James Gunn kind of hinted at this in a recent interview with Entertainment Weekly. When asked if he was working on a sequel to Superman already, he was very vague. He said it would follow up Superman, but it wouldn't be a straight up sequel. Now, many people assumed that this could mean there's a Justice League in the future or a team up film with another big hero, but a part of me wondered if maybe we would see David Corenswet reprise his role as Superman in an upcoming game that kinda serves as a follow up to the movie. Aside from his announcement video talking about what his plans were for the DC universe, he hasn't elaborated on his plan to expand the franchise into video games, but I feel like the desire for a Superman game is really there. People have been speculating on its development. Rocksteady was rumored to have been making one, but instead shifted to Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. And with this movie and Superman becoming more prevalent in the public eye, it is 100% time for Superman to have his own dedicated game. But I also think there's a whole library of DC characters that are also deserving of their own games. Similar to how Marvel prioritizes Spider-Man when it comes to video games, DC heavily prioritizes Batman when they have so many characters that would make great games. The difference is we've seen Marvel experiment beyond Spider-Man. We've had a Guardians of the Galaxy game, an Avengers game, a Captain America game, an Iron Man game, but DC is so heavily reliant on Batman being the only one who gets any kind of attention from video games, to the point where the last time we had a genuine attempt at a solo superhero game in the DC universe was back in 2011 as a tie-in to the Green Lantern movie starring Ryan Reynolds. And even the 2 preceding decades were pretty much dominated by mostly Batman with a couple Superman games sprinkled in. It blows my mind that we haven't had a real attempt at a Flash game since the Sega Master System. And pretty much every DC crossover game we've had in the last couple of decades is a terrible mobile game, a Lego game, or an awful attempt at replicating replicating whatever is successful at that time. Which this is another thing I want to point out. With the success of Marvel Rivals, a lot of people are suggesting that DC should be making their own version of that game, which is honestly just a terrible idea. I understand that there are Marvel fans who don't like DC and vice versa, but the thing is, Marvel Rivals has already cultivated a large enough player base. If a competing DC game comes along, it will be too little too late. How many hero shooters were released and then shut down within the last couple of years? Marvel Rivals is the anomaly, so a DC Rivals would be destined to fail. And I understand there's a lot of DC fans that would really enjoy that game, but making something that could compete with Marvel Rivals and to get the players who are already enjoying that game away is just incredibly unlikely. The same way they tried to make Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League a live service shooter to compete with the likes of Destiny, or how they made Infinite Crisis in an attempt to enter the MOBA market. Marvel Rivals happened to come out at just the right time. The audience for Overwatch were all actively leaving the game due to changes made in Overwatch 2, and Marvel Rivals had the appeal to not only get the former Overwatch players, but to get a whole new audience of people who were just familiar with the Marvel name. That's all I have to say about this topic for now, though. I have my fingers crossed that there is a Superman game currently in development, and we'll hear about it very soon, but until then, all I can do is cross my fingers and hope that we see it. I want to wrap this video up by answering another mailbag question, one that's kind of related to the DC topic of today. And just a reminder, if you have a question you want me to answer in a future video, drop it in the comments down below with the hashtag mailbag. This question comes from Orion8206. They ask, what's your take on introducing more magic, mystical characters in the DCU like Constantine and Zatanna in the Gods and Monsters phase, etc.? I think that there is huge potential for that part of the DCU for interesting world building. Thank you so much for your question, and I can't agree more. I know everybody really loves the Keanu Reeves Constantine movie, I love it too, but that is so far away from a proper Constantine adaptation, and I've heard that the TV series that's part of the Arrowverse is pretty good as well, but I do really hope that they tackle exploring that corner of the DC universe very soon. I really enjoyed the recent audio drama adaptation of The Sandman, and I think one of my favorite casting choices from that audio drama is Taron Egerton as John Constantine, and I would really like to see that carry over into a movie. One thing I absolutely don't want to see anytime soon is an adaptation of Justice League Dark. I think each of those characters have their own place in this universe, but I remember earlier with the production of the DCEU, they were trying to get a Justice League Dark movie to come out within a year or two of the first Justice League, and I don't know, in my opinion it doesn't really work if we have spin-offs of the Justice League right after the first movie, or at least first couple of movies. You know, it took us well over 13 years to get a new Avengers team in the MCU after the debut of the Avengers, but that may just be a me thing. I also know that they're still planning on making a Constantine 2 with Keanu Reeves attached, which I'm kind of interested in, but if we're doing a DC universe currently, don't you think we should be focusing on making a John Constantine in this universe? That kind of tells me that they're not really going to be focusing on at least that character just yet. But thank you so much for that question, and a reminder, if you want to leave your own, drop it in the comments down below with the hashtag mailbag. But that's going to do it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.